If you've ever wondered how to find out about fire damaged properties, our guest told me that you can listen to the radio that the firemen actually respond to, because his main business wasn't even real estate investing, it was actually fire damage repair. So his entire business, about once a week, he'd find a house where it burned down and they didn't have insurance potentially, and he could help them restore that property. And he was like, man, I know about all these deals. I feel like they're trying to sell it sometimes and not even get it repaired, but I don't know how to make an offer. And so that's when he joined the Springboard to Wealth program, and now has had quite a bit of success with over 9 properties throughout the state of Washington. And he's kind of off that rat race of just only repairing the fire damage, but building wealth with properties that truly need a lot of work that he could take off their hands, make an appropriate offer, and then keep as a cash flowing rental that appreciates for years to come. So you guys are gonna love this episode for that reason with our guest, Doug Perez. Woo! All right, Doug, give us an overview of your business in 30 seconds or so. What kind of deals do you do? How long have you been doing it?
Okay. Yeah, so I am a restoration contractor.
Okay.
So essentially I'm a contractor that, fixes houses in regards to house fires and damages to your home.
Got it.
And that's transitioned into real estate.
Oh, okay.
So that's helped us on the investing side, but also on the restoration side to be able to get, access into people's homes.
Okay, so when did you make the switch from restoring stuff to buying stuff?
Probably in the last 3 to 4 years, we started being able to invest into some properties and putting some money into them.
And so those properties that you've bought, have you sold them or you still have them?
I've sold one and I keep everything else.
How'd you decide to sell that one versus keep?
You want to try to see if you can make some quicker money on a flip.
Yeah.
But then after that, we realized we had enough margins to keep them and rent
how
them
much
out.
money are we talking about on a flip?
On a flip, I think I made like $35,000 on a flip. But then,
Nice.
But then on a home that you can rent out, you realize appreciating value, the mortgage being paid down by the renter, and we're already in the repair business, so
Right.
maintaining them was
Correct. And if it's all like, if you bought it well and it's all restored, there
Yep.
shouldn't be too much maintenance
There
in
isn't.
the meantime,
Yep.
right? So your expenses are low,
Yep.
Ongoing. But tell me, where are you actually doing your business?
in the Tri-Cities. So we're
Where's
in
Tri-Cities?
southeastern Washington. So
Okay.
about 2.5 hours south of Spokane,
Uh-huh.
3 hours from Seattle, and 3 hours from Portland.
Okay. So the property values there are actually quite a bit lower.
They are lower.
Nice.
Yep, they are lower.
So that could help you get into properties easier.
They are, and
Yeah.
rents are pretty good there as well.
Correct. So the real high property values, it can be tough to make it cash flow, but you're
Correct.
saying on how many do you have that you've held?
I have 10.
You have 10.
properties, yeah.
Wow, in 3 years.
Yeah, so it's probably about 4 to 6 years that we bought them, but you slowly got a couple, and in the last couple of years, you just kind of speed it up a little bit.
Yeah, amazing. Of course, right?
Yeah.
You've fine-tuned the way you acquire properties, what you do to fix them up, how
How
you
to
get that
rehab
tenant in
them.
place.
Yep.
So once you have that like ironed out and it's smooth, you want to exploit that, take advantage of that, right? So
Correct.
So are you guys doing all of the restoration still yourself?
Yeah, so basically I have my crews that we do it for other customers, and we realize, we could be our own customer. And then we've been able to kind of break down our rehab into, are we, making this for, a short-term rental? Are we doing this into a midterm, a long-term? And the finishes are determined by that.
Really? So you actually have a mix of long-term, mid, and short.
Correct.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
pretty interesting.
So I'll give an example. Like your windows, right? Let's say
Yeah.
you're doing drywall around the windows. If it's going to be a short-term or midterm, you want to make it a little bit nicer. So you'll finish it out with your millwork wrapping around the windows. You got to paint that, sand that. But if we're doing a long-term rental, we don't. We do it with drywall because renters are probably going to damage, the casings.
but the
if you-
short term wouldn't. You don't think they would damage that?
They wouldn't, because we're going in there more often and maintaining it.
Got it.
So.
And then the one that you flipped, were you always planning on flipping it, or did it
Yeah.
just not work out cash flow wise?
No, we had wanted to flip it. We probably should have kept it, but it was probably my first one. I said, yeah, we can, start flipping a home, and then, you drive by it now and you look at the appreciating value and what the
Right.
mortgage would be paid down and kind of regret it. And so,
A big part of what people feel uneasy about in real estate investing when they're just starting out is calculating the repair costs. So
Correct.
I take it that you didn't really stress about that
I
because you
didn't.
had a good grasp on that.
that's kind of our strength.
Was there anything that you were stressed about or hesitant about when you were first getting started?
So there's a couple things on the scope of repairs that you always look at. The plumbing, I would probably say, and foundation issues. Those are the two big ones.
You were
Everything-
nervous about those?
Yeah, because those are kind of the ones that we don't deal with on an everyday basis. But
Right.
everything from framing to your finish to your roofing, to your millwork, to your cabinets. It's what we do on a daily basis.
So how did you overcome that fear?
You find a good group of subcontractors that, they seen us on a couple projects, and so we'll reach out to them if we have any issues, and they'll say, yep, this is what we're looking at, and with experience, right?
Do you do that every time, or just if there's an issue?
If there's or if I
Got
see
it.
something on a possible project.
Got it.
So
I know a big one for me in Indianapolis is a lot of homes will have clay sewer pipes, and if they've been around for 50 years, it's only a matter of time before they deteriorate and need to be replaced, which is about a $10,000
correct.
ordeal.
So where we're at, we have Greenberg, which is basically like a paper type of sewer line that goes out after 15, 20 years.
Got it. Okay, so you just factor that in, like, hey, I'm just gonna make sure this is in my budget in case it needs to be done.
Correct. Or you can also do a scope. You can scope it with a camera.
Okay.
Also take a look at what the age of the home is, where it's located. You can look at your GIS for the location of the home, and you can kind of see what the development age is for those homes, and you can calculate that.
Got it. Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So, man, was there anything else you were really hesitant about?
I think for me it was like the financing part, realizing like, hey, how can we buy these homes, right? I figured you'd have to save up all the cash for it and then be able to buy it. You have the rehab costs, but obviously realizing that there's lenders that are specific to be able to buy these homes and leverage that debt. Kind of opened my eyes to not be so afraid.
What was the biggest motivation of joining Springboard? Because we're here at the Springboard event.
So I'll tell you what happened with Springboard. I messaged Thatch. I said, Thatch, I got on a house fire, and I had my contractor hat on, and this house needed a lot of work, and the homeowner was thinking about selling it. And I said, well, I'm an investor as well. I didn't know how to approach him in regards to the financing, how to offer him any money, because I was like, he's going to want cash. How much is he going to want? I just didn't know that.
Right, and a lender wouldn't approve a really damaged house.
Correct.
Traditionally.
Yeah, traditionally, right? But I could have worked something out with him because they really wanted to walk away from it. I didn't know how to do that. And I remember somebody that I knew actually bought it under me. Not under me because I was on the project to work it. And then next thing we get a call, it's like, hey, I actually sold the house. We don't need you to do the work. And I said, man, that's enough. So I reached out to Thatch. I'm like, Thatch, like, I'm already here. There, he's like, well, can you find out, what the cost is to repair? I said, yeah, I'm the one doing it. So I know the scope already.
Yeah.
He's like, that's the hardest part. I said,
Right.
Okay, all right. So that was kind of like, all right, I'm done. I need to start, try to see what I can grab for myself or be able to purchase.
So what did you learn through Thatch that you didn't know back then, right? What was
leveraging debt, being able to understand that there's a way to buy a home. You just have to know how to approach the customer or the homeowner, and being able to do the numbers and to scope and being able to offer it. Also, obviously, mindset's huge, right? Because I'm a contractor already, and I realize, wait, people are being successful. They're not contractors. I already have 2 feet into the project.
Yeah.
And so it should be easier for me.
So tell us like how you would have approached that deal. If you were in that same scenario again, like what would you have done?
I would have said, hey, you want to sell this home? Let me offer you a cash deal that is a win-win for you guys to get you in a position that you guys want to move on to your next home.
Yeah.
And I can purchase a home and give him, what.
Just the confidence of even making the offer.
I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to say it, and then who to say it, because there's the building owners, but then they had children. So I thought, well, maybe one of the kids wants the houses, right? But who wants a burnt down house, right? And so I think it's just a confidence and the mindset to be able to say, hey, let's buy it.
So where do you get financing for a house that's fire damaged like that? What do you do?
So I access HELOCs. So now that I've purchased homes, I have ways to pull money out on homes, and so it's got to be a good deal though. So, but aside from that, if it's got a little bit of damage on it, there's lenders that will give us money for it.
So do you have a lender that looks at the equity in all 10 of your properties at once, or do you have to do it individually?
So they've actually looked at everything, and so they've said, hey, if you need more equity or you need more cash, you definitely have it to grab more. It just depends on what speed you want to go at.
So I'm actually curious about this because I've got 19 properties in Indiana. That'd be nice to have access to that. So I've got different mortgages with different lenders. So how would I be able to access the entire equity like all at once, or would I need to retitle all those properties under the new bank, right?
So that'd be a conversation with a lender, but there should be lenders here at this meetup or this event that they have said, hey, they could refinance them under one large one that gives you a lot of access to them, right? So then that way you're not having to, pay closings on all of them, right? Something like that. I can't remember exactly the details on it, but they're like, hey, we can, put them together. Obviously, some are like one is a commercial property, so that's a little tricky. But we've had that conversation. I just haven't needed to yet.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yep.
That's interesting.
Yep.
And then the HELOC's a short-term thing. You're kind of taking that money out for 6 months or however long it takes.
Yep.
Right, and then you just pay it back.
Yep. I'm just waiting for rates to go down a little bit and be able to refinance. And some of the homes, they cash flow right now. And I'm okay with it because we plan on building ADUs there.
What is okay, so that's great.
Yeah.
Obviously, Seattle, as of like June or July, they allow all properties to have ADUs.
Multiple ADUs.
And you don't have to, it doesn't have to be your primary residence either.
Correct.
And you don't have to have off-street parking or anything either.
Nope.
Yeah, so what is the process of doing that, and can you get a loan for that, or is that where you use the HELOC again?
Correct. So I was using the HELOC, and right now, just signing paperwork to do the condomization on a property, on 2 of them. I have actually plans to build it, and I pulled a HELOC for a home to be able to build it, and that's just like, why are you doing that? Like, pay the condomization, and Springboard funding will give you 100% of construction costs. Because
so he has his own funding.
Correct.
Through Springboard.
Yeah, through Springboard funding, and so they will fund 100% of your construction costs if you're able to condomize it. Basically, split the lot on the back part, and so
you're actually allowing the person who owns that second piece to own the land that it's on as well.
Yeah. So I'll give you an example. So one of the houses that we bought, we had basically it's a rental for us right now. And so it's got enough space that I can put in a really nice ADU, about 1,100 square feet, 3-bedroom, 2-story. And so I have it on a 15-year mortgage. And so what we're going to do now is do the condomization where we split the lot. We ask to refinance the front, and it leaves us this back portion. So basically,
so you have to refinance the front. Does the front become worth less when you split that off?
It does, about 10% less.
Okay.
So, but if you have enough margin in there, you'll be fine.
Got it.
And so that's what I thought.
Do you have to refinance it, or can you also keep it?
So it depends on your lender. So that one I was forcing myself. I said, hey, let's put it into a 15-year. Mm-hmm. I think with a 15-year, we're going to find out right now. If not, I have to refinance all of it. The rates were pretty good. I refinanced it last year. Yeah. So we're in the mid-5s. And so even if I have to refinance it, get into your 6s, but...
The rates are good, but doesn't that make it impossible to cash flow when you do a 15-year instead of a 30?
Short term, it does cash flow.
Oh, for short term, you're bringing in so much more revenue.
You are. So, and I don't run my Airbnbs. I have an operator. And so that helps.
How did you find an operator? It's their main business?
Yeah, it's their main business. Yeah. So I found somebody local that's good at running them, and
Interesting. I will say I tried an Airbnb in Indianapolis. I had one Airbnb downtown by the convention center, and then all my other properties were long-term rentals. And I realized that it's a completely different business. It's actually a hospitality business.
It is.
Right. So I didn't have all those systems that like keep you from tripping over yourself. Yeah. And one example was like my cleaning lady. She didn't clean it properly, so I got my superhost status removed because somebody left a bad review. Yep. For example, and then when you have a bad review and no superhost, you get less bookings. So it was just kind of like a death spiral, if you will. And I wasn't able to get that much more revenue from it compared to a long term. So I just put it back to a long term, and that's been easy for me to plug it into that system that I already have. Correct. I'm curious about you though. How is your short term rental doing so well in a city that's like 2 hours away from the big city? You know.
So
how is that possible?
So I'll talk to you about kind of our hosts, because those are things that you brought up that were definitely, as like a landlord, you realize like, how am I going to do this? Like, I want it to cash flow better, but I also don't want a job, because essentially that's kind of like another job. It's like, I've never worked in hospitality before, right? We're in construction background. So the reason why it's able to do well is because Tri-Cities, the area that we're in, it's growing, and we have a shortage, obviously, with hotels. So they're trying to build hotels. So there's a need for that, and there's getting more events. Like we just had Iron Man last weekend. We put up another.
Oh, I did an Iron Man.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So we just had Iron Man. It's our second year, and I can tell you this.
You're talking about the race, right?
Yeah, the race.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we know that they don't have enough rooms, right? And so we put in a second short term right now, across the bridge, and I said as soon as we list it, it will book. and it booked it in like less than 6 hours of listing, specifically for the Ironman weekend. So we
Yeah.
already knew that. But the reason why my short-term operator is, she comes from the hospitality background. And we clashed because she goes above and beyond. Like, we're talking about, she's baking, fresh cookies. I mean, she goes.
Oh wow!
Like we would clash on certain things where she's like, no, we have to do this, and she's had to like sit down with me. I said, look, we're in the hospitality business. You don't have to. You're the landlord, but you have to realize, in order for us to get these type of reviews, we have to go above and beyond. And so I kind of had to bite my tongue, and I said, okay, you know what you're doing. So and the other thing as well, because she's the one operating it, she's already got 1,200 reviews.
So she wanted to make cookies, or you wanted her to make cookies?
No, she does. No, she had a list of things that she wanted. In my head, I said, oh, we don't need all those things. She says, yes, we do. In order to be able to get these reviews and get us to certain metrics, she says, you have to get to those metrics, but you also have to know how to maintain them.
Yeah.
Because that's what's going to keep your booking. So like for example, we have our bigger one, because it's a 4-bedroom, it sleeps 10 people. And we're kind of going into that slow season of the winter, right? And because of all the work that she's done this year, we just had a 50-night booking this week.
Whoa!
So we're kind of booked out for the rest of the year.
Who do you think that is, that's staying for a month and a half?
It's probably like working people, somebody that's coming into work.
Yeah.
And he's got some employees, and so, but that was kind of the result of all the hard work of hospitality, right? Mm-hmm. That's where I've seen the difference.
Yeah, I wasn't making any cookies, and there's so many Airbnbs that are actually just landlords who are just putting the cheapest possible furniture in there. And I actually am like very discerning when I pick an Airbnb, because most of them are just plain. They look nice in pictures, but there's going to be a spring that sticks up your leg on the couch, or when you actually get there, it's like not nice.
So one of the things is amenities.
Yeah.
She had a requirement, I think I remember, a minimum of 60 amenities. And I said, 60 amenities? That's crazy. But you start looking, a hairdryer, that's an amenity. So she starts going through them, and she's very strict in making sure that we get enough amenities, because she wants to make sure that they have a good experience.
Yeah.
A lasting experience.
How much do you pay for a management fee, if you don't mind me asking?
So I was going to say, you're going to be between the 15-20%.
15-20, yeah. But for doing all that she's doing, that actually makes sense.
It is, because
I used to think of it as just somebody answering texts.
No, I mean, she's at the property, she's talking to them, she's seeing, what they're there for. I mean, she's had to the point where they've come in for funerals, and she runs over and gives them flowers.
Oh wow.
If they have a wedding, she goes and gets a gift, and that's out of hers. Like, obviously, she's able to make money on our property, and so she goes above and beyond.
That's so cool.
So I don't really.
How do you decide to make a property a short term then versus a mid or long term?
Cash flow, location, and what the need is in the area. So there's pockets within the Tri-Cities that we know there's a lot of Airbnb, so we have a little bit more competition. The two ones that I have that she runs for me, they're kind of they're placed in a good location that, either to the freeway, near the golf course, where people want to stay at.
Got it. So what would be a breakdown of a property like that? Like, what's the value of the property? What's the mortgage payment? What's coming in for revenue?
Okay. So to give you an idea, the house that we bought, about $190,000, it appraised at that time about $390,000. That was last year.
What? Double what you bought it for?
Correct. So we had $150,000 in equity.
Did you do some work to it?
I did.
What helped boost it up?
Correct. It was the ugliest house on the block. It was my first deal that I did with Springboard. And so it was considered my burr, right? And so we refinanced it, and I could have refinanced to a 30-year, but I did it to a 15-year. So instead of paying, let's say, $1,800, I brought it up to $2,200. And so right now, what it rents at, so it averages, so it's about $4,000 a month that we get. In the summer we got $7,000. Ooh, that's great for 1 month, but then it could drop to barely just paying the rent. So it averages about $3,500 to $4,200 a month.
That's
and
nice.
that is actually my 80%. That's her 20% is already taken out of that.
Oh, nice. Wow. So on the $4,000 a month, it's really making $5,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that obviously I would say that's probably the star, right? Because not all of them are like that. She runs probably a dozen of them, and so she's just like, hey, yours, because the way that you remodeled it, the location on it just does great. So
How did you go about figuring out what it might rent for, what you could price it at?
So
because if you didn't have a deal in the first place, how would you really know?
She's part of kind of like I'm not sure what they're called, like masterminds for Airbnb operators. And so when you meet with her, she'll give you all the numbers, right? And they're conservative. And so I said, it makes sense. I think she had guests be about $3,000 a month, but it's outperformed.
Nice.
So we just started another one, so we'll see how it goes.
Got it. Yep. So are you doing just as much restoration work now as you were 4 years ago?
No, I would say no. I've kind of enjoyed working on my own projects. We still do restoration. We got kitchen remodels. We got flooded basements. I have whole house fires and asbestos abatement projects, and so but it's definitely moved into that direction.
That's your active income.
Yeah, that's my active income.
Yeah. Yep. Were you doing any investing at all in anything prior to 4 years
yeah,
ago?
I mean, I would save up every 2 years for a down payment to buy another house and do a little light rehab, and that's why.
And that was just buying houses on market or your primary house?
On market.
Got it.
Yeah, that was just on market, or my primary. I'd fix that and then move into my next house. So that's how we had a couple of them. I had 2 rentals, but then obviously joining Springboard and that accelerated, and then we have a commercial property that it's going to be a development deal that we're going to be doing.
So on the condoization thing, that's different than an ADU, right?
No, that's part of it, right?
You have to do condoization to have an ADU?
Well, it benefits you, right? And that's where...
Yes. Could do an ADU on the same parcel.
If you have the cash.
Because you can't get lending?
Correct. Yeah, you can't. So that's how you access. So like, for example, I had pulled out, some money out of another property to build that ADU, and Thatcher's saying, no, just condoize, and you'll get the lending for it, and now you'll have these 2 properties that will be appraised at that. Because if you go ahead and build it, your money's going to kind of be stuck there, right? Your appraisal is not going to be as high.
Right.
But if you split those tax parcel ID numbers, they both individually will have that value.
Okay, got it. And how long does that process take?
So we just started it. So
okay.
I think it's taking a couple months because you got to get a surveyor, and that's what we're learning from Springboard, right? And so we've learned it. Now we're doing it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, all right, this is your first ADU. What was the development project that you mentioned next?
So I have another ADU project that I have that I'm doing, but it's already an existing building. But just down the street from that, I have two properties there. Down the street, I bought a commercial property that's got a lot of potential. We're going to be hopefully doing 8 to 9 residential units. So it's a 3-story commercial building in the downtown area of one of our cities.
And that's going to be complete new construction?
Well, no, it's an existing building, but it was 18,000 square feet, 6,000 square feet each floor of commercial space, and so we're transitioning to be able to do, I think 8 to 9 residential units, apartments.
Wow, how crazy was it to change the zoning from commercial?
So I'm going through that process right now.
Yeah.
Definitely the cities that we're located, you got to meet with the building official.
They do want more residential.
They do,
right? Obviously. So
yeah, they do. And that's the reason why the cities right now, when I approached them, I said, hey, I'm just throwing it out here, and said, we like it. We're here to support. Now, there's some requirements. I got to put sprinklers in the building, so that's kind of our big development project that we'll have.
So as somebody who lives in Texas, which is the Wild West of very landlord friendly, right?
Yep.
A couple of my buddies, they recently were like, well, who would want to own a property in Seattle, right? Because there's not as landlord friendly laws,
correct.
Right? So what is it really like? Is there...
So yeah, I think you have to be pretty organized in your paperwork. I think the big part is screening, getting the right tenants. We had just put one of our houses into long-term rentals. I'll tell you right now, 12 applications. I remember how many showings we did. And I took away the emotional part, trying to help people out, which you do. You're helping people by putting in the housing, but you also have to protect yourself and say, I want to put the right tenant in here.
Right.
And
what are your screening requirements?
My screening requirements are going to be obviously, their background check, their income, but then I also want to get a feel of, what the family is like.
Yep.
Kind of what their objectives are to stay in the property. Are they looking to, to build their family here? Are they here just for work? And so that's kind of determine what we do if we keep it in midterm or in, long term.
So, so for me, I do like credit score 600, and the income must be 3 times the rent. Is that what you do too?
Yeah, very similar. Yeah, we've had people that they don't have a good credit score, but they're willing to pay 6 months of the rent.
Yeah.
Up front, and to me, that's a red flag. Because even though you can get that income, when the 7th month comes, how do I know the rent's going to be there?
Yeah.
Right. So you would rather have somebody on paper that is better.
Right.
Better.
Although I will say, I've taken a closer look at the credit reports, and sometimes people have like a 550 credit score because they only ever had one credit card with like a $500 limit.
Correct.
So, and then they like just forgot to, you know what? I don't know. I feel like some people can have a low credit score because they literally just don't ever have any credit at all.
That's not a bad thing.
And so right? Because it's not like they're not paying their phone bill or they're just kind of historical, having issues with payments.
Yeah. Yeah. And also,
for that scenario, I'm usually willing to
work with them.
Some type of, discuss it, right? See what was going on.
Yeah, like we had one property that we hadn't remodeled the upstairs. We did, but we had carpet in there, and he wanted a pet. And I said, he was everything looked really good, and it's just one person, and great job, great credit, but he had a pet, and we didn't want a pet in there. And so you kind of work with him, say, hey, look, that carpet's going to have to get replaced. Either I bring your rent up, or you pay a bigger deposit, which is going to be your pet. He says, yep, I'll pay that up front.
Oh,
so
what was the deposit that you negotiated?
I think it was $1,000.
Okay.
Because I figured how much it's going to cost me to replace the carpet in 2 rooms and a basically living room. I said about $1,000, and I said, do you want it to bump on the rent, or do you want to pay it up front? He says, nope, I'll pay it up front.
Oh, nice.
So being able to work with people. I mean, even with younger couples, you understand their credit. They're just starting out. Then you look at what's their job situation, because you understand. At one point we were young and we wanted to get into a home, right? So I am definitely a person of opportunity, but at the same time, being in Washington State, you got to protect yourself as a landlord.
Yeah, because if you were to have to go to an eviction, that would take longer than in Texas, I imagine, right?
Yes.
What is that process like?
Yeah, and I've talked to attorneys. They're about $5,000-$6,000, and
no way.
Yeah,
that much.
Yeah.
Wow.
And you got your retainer, and then plus your fees, and then it could take several months.
Got it.
And so I've had friends where they've had to sell their property in order to get them out.
What's your lowest dollar rental that you have?
So we rent out off the commercial space. So we have like a opportunity to have 2 offices, and
that's like the lowest price.
The
point.
lowest, yep.
But as an office, that would be different eviction type laws than a residence, I would
Correct.
think, right?
Yeah. We actually have, because our rent is really low in that area, because we haven't done the whole building yet. They're kind of people. They'll move out, they grow their business, but as quickly as they come out, we quickly fill it in.
Yeah.
So
one of the things that I've tried to do in my market is like I don't want to be the lowest dollar rental in the market, because for me it's whether it's like $1,000 rental or a $2,000 rental, it still has a lot of the same fixed costs. Like
Correct.
It's the same number of conversations and analysis that I have to do. It's the same number of fridges, roofs, washing machines, etc. So I always try to go as high as possible in the rental range, but without going too high, because if you go too high, then there's no market for that.
Correct.
For that rental property. So,
and the expectations are there as well, because as well with the tenant, any little thing, you're going to be over there working on it.
In which scenario?
Like for example, hey, this is. I'll give you an example. This toilet's making a little bit different noise. I was used to a higher one. Then all of a sudden you're gonna have to go in there. You call a crew. Hey guys, we need another toilet.
You're saying the lower dollar is more
higher.
Annoying?
No. I would say the higher amount.
Oh,
because I try to find kind of the higher upper end, but you don't want to go all the way, because I'll have certain people that they have kind of expectation. Hey, I'm transitioning from this part of my life to this, and I said, well, you're used to a 3,000 square foot home, and you're moving into a 1,500 square foot home by yourself, but you want to still have that luxury home that you had before. This is not it, right?
So I haven't noticed that in the price, but I have noticed it in the way people talk during the initial process.
Yep.
So I've had people that kind of pitch me on how good of a tenant they're going to be. And every single time they're the most, the most with the most requests.
Yep.
And so I don't want to say annoying, because I have an obligation as like a landlord to provide good things, but I'll just say they're just way more particular.
Correct. Yeah.
If they're trying to pitch you on how good they are, to me, that's now in my process book. Be like, let's pass on this one.
Correct. Yeah. Obviously, I try to do a showing in 2 days.
Yeah.
And out of those people, you kind of get a gut feeling of like, this person fits that box, and you can feel that they're probably going to be, you know, a good tenant to work with.
Yeah.
With when you have a large amount of people coming through, but yeah, it's actually, you get tired after the showing. It's like overwhelming of like, man, this is a lot of people coming in. It's
Well, so yes, and especially now that you have 10, and most of those are long-term rentals, I take it. Yeah, it does take a lot of time. So we switched over to these Mojo lock boxes that are kind of automated showings where people can sign up with their credit card and ID to get access to that.
Okay, awesome.
So we did that, and that definitely saves a lot of time.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting to
But
know.
then I had one instance where I was starting to like let people see it, and then I would just only talk to them on the phone. I never would meet them in person, and that's not good either. So
yeah,
I had people sign the lease that were using someone else's credit report, and so now basically I just make sure we meet in person for the lease signing. So at least there is an in-person part where they can show me their ID and their make sure it's the actual person that matches the credit report. I never would have thought you could use someone else's credit report to get access to a property like that. But it was, they were just kind of renting it out to someone who was no longer qualified for that type of property. And the only reason I realized it was like 5-6 months in, then they stopped paying. And then DealMachine actually tells you who's living at a property now.
Wow.
So I looked it up. I'm like, who's this person? And sure enough, it was somebody that
else.
was not on the credit report. Yeah, exactly. So
wow.
the eviction process was it's like 30 days in Indianapolis.
Okay,
so
much easier.
Yeah, it's not a big problem, and it is important to name the person who's living in the property that you are evicting, though. So we were able to do that because I could see it on DealMachine.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah,
you can definitely see it. So we use a DealMachine when we're looking at properties. If we find somebody, we'll look at that because I have noticed that you have the renter, and we know that they're renting, and that gives us an opportunity to reach out to them. If the owner's not answering his phone calls or text messages, you know who the renter is, and then you start asking, hey, who's your landlord? So it's great to know, by first name.
Yeah. Well, what are you inspired by? What are you going to go do next? Like, what are you really looking forward to?
So the ADUs, I have one that I have in process to finish up. I already have the plans for another one. So really, I think I'm at the point that I just want to kind of maximize our lots that we have now.
Can you give us a breakdown about like how much you can really make building an ADU?
Yeah, ADU. So I'll give an example. We're doing a 3-bedroom, 3-bath.
That's the ADU?
That's the
ADU has 3 bedrooms?
Yes, 3-bedroom, 2-story.
That sounds like even a main dwelling unit. That's crazy.
It is. When you look at the plans, you're like, this is a single family home.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
With state of Washington, they're allowing these 2 ADUs.
Well, if you condoize it, then it is, right?
Is.
Yeah, so that's what you're going to do.
Without paying the lot, because you already have the land.
Yeah.
And so really what you're looking at, and it depends, obviously, from a contractor standpoint, you could be about $200 a square foot. So say you build this home out for $200,000, but a single family home in our area is about $365,000. So you consider you're
making $165,000.
Correct. And so if you're able to build it at, let's say, $200,000, then you'll be able to basically cash flow if you're renting it at $2,300 a month. So that's kind of what I'm wanting to do is really maximize, the properties that we do have, because I have one right now that essentially will have 3 tenants on there. And it's just over time that, I slowly got, good equity on a home and finally putting in that ADU in the basement. And I said, well, this one property is doing really well. How do we do it on my other properties?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's fantastic, man. $150,000 plus on a property like that.
On new construction.
Yeah.
On a brand new home.
Right.
And so obviously we do all the repairs, so we understand the struggle of buying older homes, and there's a market for it. I'll still keep buying them, but especially with these ADUs, and that's why we're here, right? Because Thatch is pushing the ADU movement, and in Washington State, they've kind of painted that brush across the whole state.
Yeah, that's right.
So that's the advantage.
Well, as we wrap up, do you have any advice for somebody, or maybe you could tell them where to follow you?
So Doug Perez, not a huge social media. I have my personal stuff, but I do starting to put a little bit more of my stuff that I do in construction and in ADU. So I'm in the Tri-Cities area, and so that's kind of where you can find me.
We could send you any properties we find.
Yeah, I'm an investor, and so if they find somebody, and we do buy from wholesalers, and so looking for always for properties, and I guess my recommendation is really understanding that there's a way to buy properties and just kind of changing your mindset, realizing that there's people that are doing it successfully all over the U.S. And so they could be the next one.
100%.
Yeah.
Man, thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you for the time.
That was inspiring.
Yeah.
Makes you want to go do ADUs in Austin because they've got similar type of.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
awesome.
The reason why in Washington State is they're allowing the 2 ADUs, and the other thing as well is you can tap into the same utilities, so they don't force you to do that. One off-street parking requirement, and you can condoize it, and they're not owner occupied. The other thing as well are your 50% fees. So like when you do your permit, you'd have to pay for a single family home, and now they're only tapped at. So like for example, I had fees for one small ADU, they're charging me $7,500. I called, the city building department. I started getting a relationship with them, and she's like, "Oh, let me fix that." Changed my bill to $3,400.
Wow, because it was not the single family home. It was
it's an ADU.
condo.
So all these like red tapes are being taken off.
That's awesome.
It's not going to last for very long. So it's like we really want to, jump on it.
When you say it's not going to last long, you mean just people are going to jump on it?
Yes.
So it's not going to be as
correct. So like I'll give an example. We're in Tri-Cities, and Dan, he's from Seattle, and he's realizing that we have a lot of small homes on large lots because we're in an area where you can get, like the ones that I have, like 10,000 square foot lots, 8,000, 6,500 square foot lots, and people are like, "You're on a back alley, like, why aren't you putting an ADU back here?" I said, like, "Why aren't you buying up all these houses on the street?" I said, "I'm trying, because there's not a whole lot of investors that are there yet because they're starting to come in. And so it's not going to last so long because the people that are living in Tri-Cities, realtors are realizing, wait, there's some value. So if you have a corner lot, you have a back alley, you have a good sized lot where you can drive in and put these ADUs in there, there's going to be a demand to sell them at a higher price."
Smart thinking, Doug. Hey, what's Doug's job, or how do you work together?
So Dan is actually.
Oh, Dan.
Yeah,
you're
Dan,
Doug. Sorry.
Yeah. Dan's from Seattle. He actually is probably my closest friend from Springboard. So we met through Springboard, and so he was like, "Hey, I looked at a property. I was tied up. It was a triplex, and then Dan ended up buying it, and I found out, through Springboard that he bought it, and so we kind of just connected, and he's probably about 3 blocks away from my office.
You do the same thing. You're just separately, and you're friends.
Yeah, I'm an investor out of Seattle or Snohomish County.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of how we connected, and so yeah, we brought a group from Tri-Cities, and so some other contractors. The guy that you just saw, he's a painting contractor. He's been following me, and then he's like, "I need to get on it," and he just joined Springboard.
Oh, awesome! Fantastic.
So that's why he's like, "I already got my ticket." I'm like, "Oh, I haven't got mine yet. Hold on." And so yeah, I got a good group of guys that we came with, and so
yeah, it's a great community. We're super happy to be able to serve you guys. So
yeah, no,
thanks for letting us do that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it.
Yeah, man.
So.
Any requests for DealMachine? Any things you need it to do that it doesn't do yet?
Yeah, I was gonna say, since we have you here, no, I think it's been good. I would probably say so. Really, I think the access that you have in it. I'm trying to think. I guess maybe the calling that you're doing. Do you think that you guys will do multiple calling in the
Multiple
future?
line dialer?
Yes.
No, but you can export it and put that in your own multi-line dialer. We don't want to be a master of none. We want to be really focused on that premium data.
Yep.
So like the next thing that we're doing is like the corner lots. Actually, I had a call with my team about it. So you guys can identify the corner lots and market to the corner lots. And so that's where we've decided to put all of our focus. So
correct.
Yeah, try not to spread ourselves too thin there.
Yeah,
and there's plenty of good multi-line dialers, right?
Yep.
So we just want to provide the best data.
Because I saw that you guys were going into the calling, and I said, okay, are they going to tap into that? Right.
Now we've got a good single line. It's great if you're calling less than 10,000 properties per month because it never shows as spam, and it's got such a high contact rate.
Okay.
But if you're calling a higher volume, then it's better to use the multi-line dialer. They don't ever have as high of a contact rate because they're always hanging up on 2 people, right? And so, but it is more efficient once you get to a certain volume.
Okay. Yeah, I just didn't know if you guys want to tap into that. I would say corner lots. Yeah, that would be huge. Like in my business, I use it so when we have, and we don't chase fires for house fires, but essentially like somebody be like, "Hey, this house is on fire for restoration."
Yeah.
I literally just look up the address and boop. all the
How
info.
do you end up finding your leads? Just word of mouth about fires?
Yeah,
Really?
word of mouth. House fires. That's kind of my house fires really have been from that. But also we're on the list for the city.
Okay.
So if somebody's not there, not able to get a board up company, we'll do the board up.
Oh,
But
okay.
we don't, like in bigger cities, they chase fires, right?
Yeah.
We don't. But essentially, you look up the address, you can see it. So we have an app that tells us those service calls, and we look up the address, service call into. There's an app. It's like kind of like your emergency services that they do per county.
Yeah.
And they have the address right on there.
Oh, gotcha.
Copy
Yeah, when
paste
the
right
fire
into
was.
DealMachine,
Yeah.
and then now we have the owner's information, and so use it for business, but also always driving around.
Yeah.
Driving for dollars at work, and so.
Thanks for listening to the DealMachine Real Estate Investing Podcast. Please leave us a review and follow along wherever you're listening to your podcast.